This week we got Batman 159, Hush 2 Part 2. Jim Lee returning as an interior artist at DC Comics. Jeph Loeb also returning for a sequel to Hush, a classic story that a lot of people will tell you is an amazing Batman story. I will tell you it's an amazingly illustrated Batman story, but the story itself, while perfectly fine and definitely readable, not great in my opinion. Didn't know what to expect on this sequel, but now that we're 2 issues into it, I just can't feel but like a little empty inside. It feels like such an enormous waste of Jim Lee really returning full-time doing interior work, and we're not even doing anything really interesting. It's derivative upon derivative upon derivative. Sure, the art is good. It's not as good as Hush, but hey, that might be the best illustrated Batman story of all time. But it's not quite peak Jim Lee back in the day, but the story just gives him nothing really to work with. I've got a few friends out there that swear by this, and they're thinking that Hush 2 is the heat, but I just cannot get by it whatsoever, because I feel like I'm just reading a rehash of the last 20 years of Batman comic books. It's the same inner conflict. It's the same personal conflict going on essentially ad nauseum forever, but none of these things ever evolve over time. So it feels very, very generic at this point. The first thing that you notice, obviously, is the art from Jim Lee. It still looks very, very good. There's a lot of cool elements in here. Specifically, at one point, you do have Joker, who's almost been killed by Hush, and Batman's trying to save him. And while he's kind of out, Batman starts investigating the Joker and kind of looking at his fingertips and examining his toes and examining his teeth and stuff, which I thought was a pretty darn cool sequence. There's another sequence where you have Babs and Nightwing in front of the clock tower that really stands out as really well illustrated. And the colorist on this one, I think it's Alex Sinclair, does a really good job on that. Although I don't particularly like this new design on the Riddler that was introduced in the very final pages of this comic book. I don't know that Riddler is dieseled up really makes a whole lot of sense, but I guess this is Jim Lee's interpretation of the Riddler arriving to go and talk to Barbara Gordon and Nightwing at the end. But the art itself is good. He has his distinct Jim Lee style, and if you love that, I think you're going to enjoy the look of the book. I enjoy the look of the book. Unfortunately, it's not so over-the-top amazeballs like the original Hush that it can kind of wash over and make you forget about some of the really deficient storytelling elements within this book from Jeph Loeb. It's derivative upon derivative upon derivative. It's stories that we've seen and explored and been told multiple different ways from different points of view for the last 85 years in some case, because we once again need to investigate or go back to Crime Alley. And I understand that Crime Alley is an enormous part of Batman's history, the history of Bruce Wayne losing his parents. Certainly leaves an indelible mark on Bruce Wayne, is the reason that he is the Batman. Completely consequential and important to the lore of Batman itself, but I don't need to be exploring it all the time. I feel like we see this every 3 months or so, which is far too often considering how often it's been revisited. This time they're revisiting it to reminisce and remind people that Leslie Tompkins is amazing, that she was out there and she comforted Bruce after his parents were killed. But I could definitely do with 3 straight years with not a single image of Crime Alley or Bruce's parents being killed. Not because I don't think it's important, but it's just been overplayed and overused so many times. But that really is, in many ways, what this comic book is. Because the reason he needs Leslie Tompkins is because Joker has basically been sliced and diced by Hush. He went in there and he was nicking arteries and basically taking Joker to the brink of death to put Batman in a no-win situation. You can't take him to a regular hospital because then you'll be spotted with the Joker and helping him. People will turn on you. You can't let him die because you're the Batman. Are you willing to actually go out there and save your arch villain, the man who's killed at this point probably thousands upon thousands of people, including lots of women and children? This really isn't a conundrum or any type of issue for Batman when it comes to saving his villains. How many times do we have to see, is Batman going to save the Joker? Yes, he's going to save the Joker because he has a no-kill policy, even for the Joker, despite him being, one of the worst serial killers in the history of fiction. And the worst part is we literally just visited this, I think, last week right during Detective Comics with Tom Taylor, Asma has kidnapped Joe Chill. She's going to kill Joe Chill in front of Batman because she claims that she's Martha Wayne's true vengeance. And she wants Bruce Wayne, Batman, to have the opportunity to get to see it himself. He's like thinking in the comic book, maybe I should let this happen. It's like, you are not going to let this happen. This stuff has been sussed out and explored every single way that you can. And every single time Batman comes to the same conclusion, I'm not going to let this person die, whether they're evil or not, and I'm going to save them. This isn't the dramatic character exploration that it was 20 years ago. It's not that at all, because he always saves them. Batman has taken his vow, and that is who he is. Whether you find fault in that or it frustrates you as a reader, that you think maybe at some point Batman would be doing the right thing to put Joker down. And me personally, I think he probably would. But this has already been fully sussed out, and we know exactly how he's going to react. Although there is one really funny moment in here where the Joker like wakes up and Leslie's like, do you have like some type of gas that can knock this guy out? He's going to die as I'm trying to like sew up all the things that have been done to him. Batman like pulls out this vial and puts him in a coma. And he's like, well, you asked, which I thought was very Batman-esque. And it was a funny little moment to kind of add a little bit of levity here. But we need to explore new ground with Batman, new dilemmas for Batman where we don't always know exactly what's going to happen. But like I said, it's a very derivative comic book. There's not a whole lot going on in here, and there's not even freaking Hush. And because Batman is now saving Joker, who do you guess shows up? Of course, Jason Todd. And what is he mad about? The Joker killed me. And Bruce is like, I know that you don't think Joker killed you. You blame me for killing you, which is the same exact argument we've been having between Bruce Wayne and Jason Todd. It's like 20 years, 15 years. It's been going on for a long time, ever since he returned after the Lazarus pit, obviously from death in the family, which is an enormous moment and had catastrophic consequences for Batman and Bruce Wayne's psyche for, several years before Tim Drake was able to come along and really help him out. And then when Red Hood, Jason Todd comes back and Batman is overwhelmed by all that guilt of not being able to save his Robin. But now you've got this Robin kind of blaming him and taking Batman's mission and going too far with it, murdering criminals and all that stuff. And Jason Todd always blaming Batman. How could you do this? You didn't save me. And now how could you save the Joker? You know what he did to me. He beat me with a crowbar. I still feel the crowbar. And this stuff was all great in Under the Red Hood. But we literally just did this story as well during Chip Zdarsky's run. And what was that, Gotham War? It's this, or the other story that they do is somebody dies. It looks like Red Hood did it, and Batman has to decide, am I taking him in? Before actually investigating, maybe even asking the guy since he knows him. And supposedly they squashed their beef like 15 times now. Hey, did you kill that guy in cold blood? Because it kind of looks like you did. And they never talk to each other, and then Batman tries to hunt him down. And then it looks like Jason Todd's going to kill him, but really he just needs to get a moment to explain to him. Like, there's only two stories that you can ever tell with Jason Todd and Batman at this point. And once again, it's just another rehash. Do you remember Batman the Three Jokers? It's time to let it go. Let's move on. They can have a beef like Hal Jordan and Batman, where there's tension and they don't really trust each other. At least Batman doesn't trust Hal Jordan. But they don't always talk about it. You just know that it's there. And I think that kind of tension is much better for the story itself, because you don't have to fucking explain it all once again. But also it encourages new fans, like, what's the weird thing going on between Batman and Red Hood? Like, why are they looking at each other like that? Why does every time Red Hood have a suggestion, Batman immediately contradicts it, even if it makes sense? What's going on there? And then you talk to your friend, you're like, oh shit, I haven't read Death in the Family. I haven't read Under the Red Hood. And then you go back and you get to explore why there's this enormous amount of tension that's still available today. But they don't have to like argue about it every single time they come into proximity of each other. I think it works out way, way better with the Hal Jordan Batman stuff, where Batman still doesn't trust Hal Jordan because of Parallax. Has a little bit of a negative perception regarding Hal Jordan, thinks everybody's being far too forgiving and not really thinking about what the long-term consequences of Hal Jordan could be. And there's tension there. But it's understood, especially if you're a long-time reader. And if you see it and you're not really sure what's going on there, you can go back and discover it. And then you're like, oh, shit, I love Hal Jordan. He is the greatest Lantern. But I understand why Batman doesn't trust him in the end. And I think that's far more effective storytelling than what we're getting here, to where every time these guys run into each other and there's a new writer, they hash out the exact same fucking beef. There's some crazy moments in here too. At one point, they're fighting each other, and Batman literally grabs a gun, which he has a no gun rule, but I guess he's just not going to follow that one today. He grabs it from Red Hood and literally shoots him in the face, because he knows that Red Hood's ballistic protection on as far as his head covering is going to be good from, 4 feet away. I mean, he's literally right there. And then we even get like a standoff where they both have guns pointed at each other's heads, which is like kind of weird. He wouldn't shoot his son in the face. It's a bridge too far. But even at this point, Batman, as great as Jason Todd is, he is no match for Batman in single hand-to-hand combat. Batman allows himself to get buffaloed. He gets pistol whipped by fucking Jason Todd and put out. And when he wakes up, he realized that Jason Todd has taken the Joker, and he's jumped to the conclusion that clearly Jason Todd is also working with Hush, which I don't think, if you're the world's greatest detective, is the ultimate conclusion that you have to reach. Jason Todd could have just been kidnapping the Joker to kill him, since he did murder him at one point in the Death of the Family storyline. But he's just jumping to this conclusion that obviously Jason is working with Hush, which I guess is going to be another argument on the two of their part, or some type of miscommunication. And it's probably going to be more like Jason Todd just wants to take out the Joker. Now Batman has to save him from him. And we also get an event I talked about a little bit earlier, where you have Barbara and Nightwing talking about how Batman is doing this, can't believe he's saving the Joker, but everybody knows about it, including Jason Todd. So they're probably going to try and intervene. I imagine they walk in on Batman trying to subdue Jason Todd, but it looks like he's about to murder him. And then all of his Bat kids are going to turn on him. And then we'll have another derivative story where the entire Bat family doesn't trust Batman again, which we literally just explored. But I believe that's what they're setting up. But I don't know that because I haven't read it. But that's where I expect this to go, because it is a highly derivative, well-illustrated comic book. If you love Jim Lee's art on Batman, I think you'll probably like this book quite a bit. But if you're expecting some type of new inventive storytelling or new elements be thrown into Batman that haven't been explored before, or maybe something new that maybe Jeph Loeb and Jim Lee haven't explored before, it's just not really there. Although we do have the teaser of the Riddler doing something, which I guess will be a little bit of a change of direction regarding Hush. But it's kind of much the same. It's kind of boring. It's very derivative. It's exploring territory that's been explored ad nauseum at this point. And I don't think it really lives up to the hype. Thankfully, people are supporting it. We did have reports out there that DC got 400,000 orders from comic book shops, and it was the best-selling comic book in March. So I'm glad that people are enjoying it more than me. I know that Dylan, the Real Comic Book Gamer, really likes this book a lot. He kind of swears by it. And I've seen other people out there really enjoying this, but I'm just kind of bored. Although I definitely really enjoy the art, but I just read Hush, and it's not quite that good. You know what I mean? So I probably shouldn't have read Hush getting ready to get into the Hush 2 series. If I were to score the comic book, it's not bad. I would give it like a 6.5 out of 10, a 3.25 out of 5. Not something that you should avoid at all costs. It's not Fire and Ice. It's nothing bad like that. But it's just not like you can't miss this. I would say if you want a badass, really cool Batman book, go read Batman and Robin. I think it's far better. If you want a weird, Batman solo book that's going to explore stuff that you really have never seen, go read Dark Patterns. It doesn't look like Jim Lee, obviously, but it's a really weird book, and it's doing something a little bit different with Batman, where it does feel like Hush 2 is just kind of exploring the exact same beats that have been explored, for decades upon decades at this point with Batman. So kind of a disappointment, but do appreciate Jim Lee coming back, and the art does look very, very good. If you appreciate these kind of awesome reviews that you can only get here on Thinking Critical YouTube, and you would like to support the mission, keep the videos coming forward and the lights on, the best place to do that is Thinking Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description. There's a button right here. I hope to see you there very, very soon, because we got lots of awesome podcasts, over 36 hours of new stuff every single month waiting for you to discover.